Welcome back to our podcast, Inhale Life Asthma Conversations from the Chicago Asthma Consortium. I'm Charmeleon Nienhuis, and I am your host. I am a professor of pediatrics and medicine at the University of Chicago. And today, we're going to be talking about something that really matters to so many families, how the home environment affects asthma. So we know that asthma isn't just about medications or clinic visits, it's also about the air we breathe every single day, right where we live. And with us spending about 80% or more of our time in the home, it's so important. So, from cleaning products to houseplants to air purifiers and humidity, the choices that we make at home can really have a big impact on asthma control. So, to help us sort out what really helps and what might make things worse, I'm joined today by Kim Jay, a training manager consultant and senior community health worker at the Sinai Urban Health Institute. Kim works directly with families in their homes, helping them find practical ways to reduce asthma triggers and breathe a little easier. And actually, this will be a first. Kim is our first repeat podcast guest. And so I'm always excited to talk to her. And so why don't we just go ahead and jump in? But first of all, welcome, Kim. Again, glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Sharmili. And I am so grateful to be able to share knowledge with our base, with our broadcast base, to make sure that we are aware of the things that impact our asthma overall, that include our living environments.
Great. So let's maybe start off with some basics. So when you visit families, what are some of the most common things you see in the home that can make asthma worse?
So, one of the most common things are plug-ins for air freshening. Some of the cleaners that are used, those are the number one and two, and the biggest one is tobacco smoke. And I know that, smoking is a part of a lot of people's existence. However, there's way to do it to be mindful of those who are asthmatic in your home.
Okay. Now, I know the first thing that you brought up is plugins, and I think people use plugins. I personally don't, but I think people use it to make the air feel fresh, like they want that too. So, why is that such a problem?
So I'll say this, in most of the communities and homes we work in, a lot of them associate fragrance with cleanliness. So
Mhm.
when you walk into the home, they want you to smell that aroma of a freshly mopped floor or beautiful fragrance because it signifies cleanliness. And so when you talk about asking someone to deter from that sacred ritual of having that cleanliness fragrance, you have to give them some good alternatives as to what that could be. So to encourage them to try a different method of freshening the home.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thanks. So I guess, one of the other things that you mentioned are cleaning products. So, I think in the past, maybe 5 to 10 years, has been a big push for green or natural cleaning products.
Yes.
So how can people tell which ones are actually safer to use and they're not just using marketing and saying, please buy me because this is a green product?
So the reality is the packaging that people are using right now are saying use this green product or this item, but and they charge this ridiculous amount for them. But in reality, you could do those same ingredient to make your own at home. White cider vinegar, water, essential oils are the ones you can use to clean the house. It successfully gets up the dirt and the dust. And if you use the essential oils, it leaves that aroma that people are so drawn to that signifies cleanliness in the house. So those are things that they can manage. And even when they're using cleaning products for, like cleaning the oven or the stovetop, you can use soda, baking soda and vinegar to complete that process. And again, if you add essential oils, it provides that same freshness that we associate with having a clean home.
Yeah, and I think again, those are really important to think about because too, those are really low cost items, and
Yeah.
you don't need to spend a lot of money. And I think that is a misconception. Maybe it's like in a nice bottle or something, but you can go and buy some nice, empty bottles or reuse some of the bottles that you have had in the past.
Yeah, and a lot of the items you can get from the dollar store, well, the $1.25 store.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the spray bottles, the baking soda, the vinegar, essential oils, they all sell them there, and you can get them if you bought them all for under $10. And you will
Wow.
have some supplies that you can use for at least 30 days to clean your home. All
Mhm.
you would need is a gallon of water and a couple of capfuls of the white cider vinegar and a few drops of essential oils, and you're good to go.
Great. So I know you talked earlier again about some of the everyday cleaning products that actually do cause problems for people with asthma. So what are those, just so people know? We know what better to use, the baking soda and vinegar,
Yeah.
but what are the ones that do get that give people living with asthma problems?
So I'm going to go with the cleaning products like chlorine bleach, Fabulosos, the Pine Sols, things that are very aromatic that they are like promoted as these disinfectant cleaners that are really great for you. But for folks who are challenged with asthma, it's not as great. But I will offer this little tidbit. Now, for us using these products, if we use them like the inventors intended to be used, it won't be as harmful for us using them. So people are always floored by this statistic or this reality that one cap full of bleach or fabuloso or pine sol in a gallon of water is
Mm,
sufficient. But many of us pick up the bottle and just pour until the ancestors say stop.
yeah.
And, your eyes are burning and you're like, oh my gosh, now I have enough. But if you use a capful like the manufacturers intended it to be, it wouldn't be as harmful. But many times we don't follow that regimen. So it's easier to swap it out for something more healthy and asthma friendly than to rely on our instincts to just use that capful and those fabulosos, pine sols, and chlorine bleach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's hard because we probably remember from our childhood, whatever our, family used, you're like, well, I want my house to smell like that because it makes you think of something clean. But
Yeah,
just knowing that those things can be harmful, and not to throw in some of the work that I've done, but I'll throw it in this
absolutely.
time is, we actually found that using disinfectants like bleach and some of those like more than 5 times per week, that was associated with like worse asthma control.
Right.
So again, I think, we didn't tease out whether people were using like vinegar or hydrogen peroxide, which are more,
Yeah.
safer options, but definitely, those are some things to consider is that we
Yeah.
do know that it's associated with worse asthma control.
Yeah, and I would have to, I will be remiss if I didn't talk about how we even clean our clothes. Everything is a fragrance. Your detergent is a fragrance. Your fabric softener is a fragrance. Your rinse is a fragrance. And
Mm,
each of that is embedded in our clothing. And when we wear it, we're wondering why we are sneezing or wheezing or coughing. It's contributed to the fragrance of even the fabric softener, and especially in our bedding as well. So, again, it's hard to tell people to stop doing everything, but if you encourage them, like when you're washing, either wash with it, but don't dry with it, just to mitigate how strong that fragrance is, because they're designed to linger. So it's embedded in your clothing. So even using some of this fragrance-free options are good for those who are really trying to manage their asthma. Because imagine laying down your um, favorite comfy blanket and you smell all that fragrance. You're like, oh, you start coughing. Now your favorite blanket is the enemy because
yeah.
of how we washed it. So, we have to make sure that we're being mindful of all those things and including our candles as well. Because
Hmm.
again, we associate those scents with being clean and cleanliness. So we have to figure out other ways to achieve that same goal, but with using asthma friendly products.
Yeah. Now, we're at the end of October right now, and so getting into cold and virus season. And I know this is something that, especially my uh, families with kids, they're thinking, oh, I want to keep the kids healthy, so I got to disinfect everything. So again, what would some recommendations be for people keeping their house, kind of more keeping the germs down, but without overdoing it with these harsh chemicals?
Believe it or not, apple cider vinegar is an antimicrobial, and it definitely helps with reducing the germs and things of that nature. You just put it in the spray bottle, equal parts water and vinegar, and use it to clean those surfaces and to reduce dust accumulation. Now, people may be thinking about, well, it's going to smell like vinegar. Once vinegar dries, you never even know that it's there. But if you're having a challenge with that, a few drops of essential oils does help with that as well.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah. And then I guess I would just add too, don't forget about hand washing, everybody. So, again, definitely keeping, like surfaces disinfected is good. And like Kim said, using the half vinegar, half water mixture that can be antimicrobial, but making sure everybody's washing their hands. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Hand washing is the number one thing we can do to prevent any to contracting most disease and like I'm not say disease, but those airborne conditions like
Hmm.
colds and flus. Keeping our hands clean is really a great way that's very, very inexpensive to mitigate some of those conditions. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I know we talked a little bit about those cleaning supplies that can, again, put those harmful chemicals into the air. And so that kind of gets me to my next topic is thinking about air purifiers. And I feel like more and more now there's so many air purifiers on the market. So what are some things that people should consider when they're maybe looking to buy one?
What they have to be considerate about is the area that the air purifier does cover. So people may think, oh, I just get this one air purifier, it'll handle the whole house. But in all actuality, it does not reach into all those rooms. So when you're buying it, considering the reach of the air purifier and maybe investing in more than one. Another way they can even be mindful of the air in the home, especially as we're getting to the warmer seasons, is the filters in the furnaces.
Mhm.
You can buy a hypoallergenic filter, which helps to weed out a lot of those irritants in the air as it's blowing heat in the winter. So definitely do that. But just think about, yeah, I would say the reach and how much space the air purifier will cover because we do some good things with intention, but if it's not meeting the need, it's like, okay, well, only this space is going to be covered. And so what else are we going to do? Um, I do also lean toward opening the windows, not on these high pollen days,
Mhm.
because you have allergies. If you have asthma more times than not, you may have allergies too. But it's always great to get some fresh air in the home as well because there's so many things that linger in the house. And I found that many of our community members are not a big fan of opening windows for various reasons. One being safety, but if
Mhm.
there's a way to I call it a 30 minutes of air time, just opening the window to get some fresh air to move those uh, dust particles out and get you some fresh air in. That is also a way that's inexpensive. But if you could invest in an air purifier, definitely do that. They also have some programs. I even saw one time that ComEd was offering free air purifiers for certain income homes. So if you're looking for some, just do a quick search, internet search, and you'll be able to find some organizations maybe offering them for free. But if you can't do that, open the window 30 minutes a day, give yourself some fresh air.
Yeah, that's a really great suggestion. So just to kind of summarize definitely that if you can't afford an air purifier, that one, I think you mentioned the HEPA filter, that's like the hypoallergenic, doing that. I know I was recently at a meeting last week here in Chicago, and they were also talking about, um, especially if you're going to use it in the kitchen area, having one that has a charcoal filter, because that one
Oh, yes.
helps, that can help absorb some of, especially if you have a gas stove, it can really help absorb some of the harmful effects or the harmful things that are in the air after, when you cook with natural gas. So those are another options.
You brought up something, Sharmila, that makes me think about cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a did you know moment. Did you know that reused cooking oil is also a trigger for
Oh,
asthma? So many families, keep it on the stove and, those fragrances linger. If there's a way to cover that and like put it in the cabinet, it's a better experience because those chemical reactions do cause irritation for some patients. So even keeping those things in mind, and it's just a good thing to just go through the house and check what things cause you that irritation. Really put some thought behind it. When you feel the coughing, wheezing, chest tightening, is it when you light the candle? Is it when you use the cleaning products? That way you know what to address so that your asthma is better managed inside the home.
yeah, great. So I want to, as we're talking about the indoor air quality and purifying, I think a lot of people have heard that actually plants can help clean the air. So first of all, I guess, is that true? And are there certain kinds of plants that are better than others?
That is true. We have plants that really are beneficial to cleaning the air for us and are better for our asthma. There are five that come to mind and that they recommend as like these top indoor asthma friendly plants. One is the snake plant,
Mhm.
another is the peace lily. Then you have the lucky bamboo plants. You could also do the spider plant, which a lot of people do have in their homes. And the other plant is called the parlor plant, which looks much like the bamboo, but the stalks are thinner. But these do really well, and the snake plant works really well in the bedroom.
Mm.
If you can put one in the bedroom, it helps to purify that air. But for those who are plant lovers, these are the more asthma friendly plants that you can have all over the home. So that is true. There are some plants that help us out.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear, I think about the snake plant at least because I kind of have, I say like a maroon thumb. Like I don't have a green thumb, but yeah, it's that. So, and I know the snake plant is one that's pretty easy to take care
Resilient.
of.
And
Yeah. And
bamboo
bamboo
too.
too. Yeah.
Very easy. So you can
Yeah.
just leave them be a little water when you feel it getting dry and let it be. But it is great for filtering out those impurities in the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if you know, but are there any plants that people with asthma should avoid?
When you think about those plants of avoidance, there are the ones, and I there is a list for those as well. The let me just tell you again, flowering plants
Mm,
that are like the lilies and things of that nature. Now, peace lily is fine because it blooms once and that little white stalk comes out. But those plants that flower really do can be something not good for in home, but they could be outside the house. If you have that green thumb and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is not doing well, those plants could be those outside plants. So definitely those blooming, flowering plants. But if they need some specifics, I can offer those details momentarily.
okay, yeah, no problem. Um, and then another area that we might not think about in the home as much. I think we talked about like chemicals and candles and cooking and such, but how important is humidity? Because that's another factor in our homes, and what would be a good way to manage that?
So you think about humidity when it's too warm in the house, the heat is going, it's really dry, it can cause your asthma to flare up. The idea is to put moisture back in the air.
Mhm.
well, and help to deplete some of that. Again, I talk about opening windows, getting that air circulation around it, and being mindful of those temperatures inside. Because when it's really like steamy hot, it's not the best for those who are challenged with asthma. So just trying to keep that equilibrium in the house. And a thing that I do is like a rule of thumb for me. I do keep the window cracked in my home, making sure that if it's the temperature fluctuates, I will open it a little more or turn off whatever is giving that heating effect for a while to reduce that humidity in the home.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe some newer thermostats do this, but also you could get like a little monitor. I think it's, pretty low cost just to check the humidity and it'll tell you. And usually want to keep it, below 50%, but, somewhere above, 30%, 20 to 30%. Is that what
Yeah,
you would recommend or?
that is exactly it.
Mhm.
But then when you talk about the percentage rate, people like, I don't really get that. So I try to offer some healthier approaches to that, meaning that if it is warmer in the home, reduce it by, letting in fresher air, drier air. And if it gets too cold in the home, because that could
Mm,
be
yeah.
an issue, just making sure the temperature in the house is about, I'm going to say 70, but I know many of our community members love it hot, you know, but if
Yeah.
you can manage it at a 70-degree mark, it is really good for indoor air quality.
Yeah.
And again, back to those plants, those again, pollinating plants like daisies and sunflowers. I know we love those, right, for indoors, but we buy a bunch of sunflowers. Those can activate those asthma irritants and even those fragrant, like highly fragrant plants. I love the Oriental lilies, but I know they will give me a run for my money when it comes to asthma because I too am one who manages their asthma by being mindful of how I clean, how humid it is in the house, how cold it gets when I'm out, and how I grow my plants. So I have a lot of greenery to help me mitigate some of the irritants that could be in the air. So yeah.
Great. And we haven't touched upon this yet, but for people that are renting, so maybe they don't own their home, so maybe they can't make big changes. What might be some practical steps that they can still take to breathe easier inside the home?
Um, so one of the things that was a big challenge was carpet. And
Mm,
I know some homes they have an issue, but we can't remove carpet. But the reality is, it's a reasonable accommodation for patients who have asthma, so you can ask about it. But if you don't have if the organizations are or the management companies are not really going to do that, just keeping the carpet vacuumed um, is at least twice a week. Vacuum it really good, making sure that's done. We don't really suggest sweeping a lot because it kicks up all the dust and the irritants in the carpet. So if you can vacuum that, um, and considering some of the mold challenges that happen, because that is another issue that comes about. These things can and should be addressed by your landlord.
mhm.
And it's really about letting them know that this is going on so they can come in and mitigate it. And if it's a huge mold issue, they should be um, cutting it out and replacing the drywall or whatever that material is and not painting over it.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
they say we'll just paint it, highly, highly, highly reject that offer and have them mitigate it by cutting it out and replacing whatever that affected area is. And again, using vinegar full strength can help you with that mold. Like in the bathroom, we get around the tub or around the faucet to keep that down. You can spray that full strength white cider vinegar and get that cleaned up before it can turn into something major. But it's just all about understanding what triggers you so you know how to handle it because some people who have asthma, some fragrances don't bother them as much as others. But it's
Mhm.
about what is your trigger? what bothers you, so you know how to manage that in your own home.
Yeah.
And take no smoking if you can, because I think I talked about that earlier, how
Yeah.
smoking is another issue. And many people like, it's my home. I should be able to smoke there. Most public housing do you're not allowed to smoke within the units, and that's because how the smoke travels through the vents, affecting others in the building. And so, in an effort to mitigate that, they've asked the tenants to smoke outside. But if you're in a home where you feel like, I want to smoke there, maybe relegate your smoking to one area of the house. And if you're going to do that, wear a jacket or something that you can take off. So when you go into the other populations with everybody else, that tobacco smoke won't be lingering, because there's this first thing as a first hand, second hand, third hand smoke, and even the fourth hand smoke that affects our babies. And when you're holding babies and you're a smoker, that's one thing that has been linked to SIDS. And Dr. Sharmila, I
Mhm.
don't know if you know that, but it is directed toward that. So we really try to encourage folks not to smoke in home, to go outside. But if they have to do it in home, do it in one area of the house. And if you're going to do that, wear something that you can take off. So when you
Mhm.
come out, you don't bring those aromas with you as strongly as it would if you smoked right in that space.
Yeah. And for people, you mentioned SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. So that's what, exposure to tobacco smoke has been associated with SIDS, with a increased risk of having SIDS.
Yeah.
So nobody wants that.
No.
The only other thing I know we think of we're really focused on our homes today, but I feel like I'd be amiss if I don't wouldn't mention too about smoking in the car, especially with the windows
Oh,
rolled up and with kids in the car. I mean, let
yes.
alone yourself is not good for you, but also especially those kids. So just make sure again, if you can at least make sure that the windows down rolled down at a very, very minimum, but the
Yeah.
best is not to smoke in the car.
Yeah, and even for the non-smokers that are around you, it's like somebody is forcing you to eat something that you don't like.
Mhm.
And if you think about it that way, would you want somebody to do that to you? So if you can wait till say, I'm going to get out of the car, I'm going to smoke, then, we can continue. That is just being mindful, and not subjecting people to something you wouldn't want somebody to subject you to if you were not a fan of it. So I try to tell people to think of it that way. If you don't like it and somebody's trying to force you to eat it or do it, would you like that? And
Yeah.
and the answer is no.
No, yeah.
So keeping those windows cracked, if you are the smoker, and is your car, you want to smoke in your car, just be kind and roll those windows down to give other folks an option to have some fresh air.
Yeah, I love that analogy. I might start using that. It's like with forcing people to eat something they don't want to. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Well, as we're going to be wrapping up, I wanted to, for our listeners, if someone only has time to tackle one thing this week to make their home healthier, like where should they start? What would be one good small thing that they could do?
I would encourage them to unplug the plugins, take them out, give yourself rest. I did this with a patient who I think Dr. Sharmili, I sent her to you. She was a twin, and she had all her medications in place. She was doing really well with, and she thought, but her asthma remained uncontrolled. And so when I came into the house, I saw that she had plugins, and she had one in her bedroom, right? So if there's a plug-in in the bedroom, I just asked her to take that one out. And when she took that plug-in out of the bedroom, she said she had the best sleep of her life.
Mm,
And so she was able to share that with her twin sister who lived in Minnesota, and they all got better, including getting allergy tested. Found out she was allergic to everything, and she ended up needing an EpiPen right? So,
Mhm.
getting allergy tested is another way, to help manage your asthma because a lot of things we encounter, we don't know if it's a trigger for us or not. But definitely encourage get being allergy tested as a part of your regimen with your asthma, so that you can have a real drill down look as to what that does look like for you, especially if you feel like you have all the pieces in place to be healthy, but you're still having some challenges. Definitely allergy testing, I would recommend.
Okay. Well, this was a really great conversation again with Kim J from the Sinai Urban Health Institute. And I really appreciate how she made it clear that creating an asthma-friendly home, first of all, doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
And it's about small, consistent steps like switching to safer cleaners, managing humidity, and keeping the air moving, opening those windows if you can. Definitely, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who could use these tips, whether it's another parent, caregiver, or friend that's managing asthma at home. And, we look forward to you connecting for our next episode where we'll be talking about things to think about during the holidays as the
Ah,
holiday season's coming up. So, again, thanks for listening, and here's to breathing easier right at home.
absolutely.